Live only on DAZN. He silenced Britain's best. Usyk, the Brit breaker, but now the dynamite is ready to explode. One night, one shot at Undisputed. Usyk versus Dubois 2. July 19th. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
Oscar Bevis for the Stomping Ground, powered by Wow Hydrate and available on DAZN.
Take two.
So we're running against time. Time is our enemy.
We fluffed up the first time. We were like 6 minutes in. We're only going to do 10 minutes now because I got to go to the dentist. Take two.
Take two. Let's jump straight in. What a massive week we've got coming ahead of us, by the way. But a lovely little taster. Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, Hamzah Sheeraz, Edgar Berlanga. A more comfortable weekend for Katie than the last two times, Gareth.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, calling it the hors d'oeuvre to this is kind of... They were two massive events in America. The biggest female trilogy of all time. The biggest three female fights I think we've ever seen, certainly in terms of numbers, purses, number of belts on the card, the record-breaking 17 belts on that card in New York on Madison Square Garden on Friday night. The first two fights, just to go over what we spoke about in the first take, that'll be lost forever in the ether of Zoom. I think Amanda Serrano was the aggressor in the first two fights. Over those first 20 rounds, the first two contests, Katie Taylor had to fight back and had to counter, and they were very torrid, very fast-moving wars, both of them, which puts them in the annals, really, of Ward Gatti, Barrera Barrera, and Fury, Wilder, Ali, Frazier. They belong in there. This time, because Amanda Serrano stood off, I thought it played into Katie Taylor's hands. But if that's the hors d'oeuvre to this week, then quite extraordinary. Katie Taylor, the greatest female boxer of all time for me. These two women go into the pantheon of all time greats. I thought, just to cap the event very quickly, thought Savannah Marshall did win against Shadazia Green. I thought she was very unlucky. And I'd like to see Katie Taylor have a final fight at Croke Park. Tasha Jonas, Chantel Cameron, Alicia Baumgardner, one of those kind of guys, really.
Yeah, in terms of Amanda Serrano, did she just seem a bit fearful that those cuts might open up and there might be hesitant?
Yeah, maybe.
She was a bit hesitant.
They got the game plan wrong. They basically got the game plan wrong. And once Katie Taylor had settled into a rhythm, and they stood off each other a lot this time. I think it's the respect that grows over time. And Serrano was, in fact, I think it was Serrano's head that landed a couple of times when they went into exchanges. Unfortunately, yeah, she was wary of it, and she stood off, and she paid for it.
You mentioned the 17 world title fights, and we know how much Jake Paul has done for women's boxing, but to actually see it in practice, it was pretty astonishing. Just big female name after big female name ring walking, big names in the ring, some big performances as well. To actually see it in practice was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I am hoping to have a Zoom with Jake this week to look back over women's boxing. I did do a piece on Saturday morning in the Telegraph on the resonance of the event. I do want to do a piece with Jake. I think he's often the villain of the piece, isn't he? And takes a lot of flack. But what he's doing, he signed Ebony Bridges now. I know that Fran Hennessy and Mick Hennessy went over there at the weekend. I don't know if they were talking to him or not. I know that Rhiannon Dixon and Anthony Crolla were going to try and speak to him as well, to Jake Paul. He's doing extraordinary things, but whatever people say about his own personal journey in boxing, what he's done for women's boxing, and in fact what he was doing last week, reaching out to Ben Askren, who's obviously had a double lung transplant, who he fought, who was an MMA fighter, is just shows the heart of the man. Where for all his marketing thuggery, that he deep down he's a good person, and he is a very good person. I know him personally. I don't know if you do, but I've got a lot of time for Jake Paul and the Paul family and Logan. Jake's he's masterful at what he does, absolutely masterful. He's masterful at playing the villain, but he's masterful behind the scenes and sitting in that big comfortable chair ringside and letting women show how brilliant they are at boxing. Next subject, please, sir.
I was going to just ask finally, will there ever be a time where he's not seen as a villain in the sport?
Yeah,
Because
yeah. When he's older and more mature, and he's doing, listen, he will change the lives of millions of young people eventually. He's already looking for a bigger purpose. I speak to one of his Susie, one of his what is she? She is a mental health, a well-being advisor to him because he takes so much shit that you can imagine. I know he gives a lot, but he takes so much shit that it does have an effect on him. And I can't remember her surname, but Susie is a woman he spends time with, who he elucidates, and she gets him to fulfill um, the more meaningful side of himself, the deeper side of himself. No, he will be looked upon. I mean, he'll look back and cringe at some of the things that he's done when he's older. But no, this guy is a special figure in on this planet, in this human race. One of the most identified people on the planet. Jake will do great things, believe me. That's why he's included in my book, Call of the Warrior, which a lot of people didn't like, in one of the 30 essays, along with KSI, because they have changed a generation.
yeah, absolutely true. Right, you said next topic, so let's move on to Hamza
Only
Sheeraz.
because we're short for time, that's all.
Or because you don't want to talk to me, Gareth, I get it. Hamza Sheeraz, up at 168, looking like a beast. What a performance against Edgar Berlanga.
It was, he silenced the noise of Edgar Berlanga. He silenced the villainy of Edgar Berlanga. It was a terrific performance. It was a 10 out of 10. He will have gained some resonance and a legion, a phalanx of fans in the United States, which he wants to do anyway. He said he wanted to conquer the United States. He's got the British, Pakistani, Muslim audiences. He's a Riyadh season ambassador. No, he did exactly what he needed to do to show that he is a feature at 12 stone. I mean, I questioned before the performance whether he was really ready for Canelo. But if Saul Canelo Alvarez has two fights with Terence Crawford, and we see Hamza Sheeraz, the 10th Briton, to fight Canelo late in 2026, then it's probably the right timing, and timing is everything. As you know, I spoke to Spencer Brown yesterday. I'm hoping to speak to Hamza today at some point. Really pleased for him. Did everything he needed to do. Showed how powerful he is, and he's probably even going to be a force at light heavyweight eventually.
Yeah, you mentioned timing, and I don't like talking about timing too much sometimes because it kind of almost dismisses how good someone is. But is there going to be someone who will catch Canelo Alvarez at, quote, the right time? And that
Well,
person
that's what I
now
was
could be
hinting
Hamza.
at. Yeah, that's what I was hinting at. That Hamza's power and his youth could be exactly the right time for Canelo. But Canelo may feel that he doesn't have the experience to fight him. He'll take a rain check on that, because if he thinks that it is the wrong fight for him, he may not take it. You don't know. So it might swing the other way. But great performance, and also on that card, a brilliant performance as well by Shakur Stevenson. Folks, what are you complaining about? This guy is in the top 10 pound for pound for me now. I do believe he'll go to the top of the pound for pound list. America needs to get a wriggle on. Turkey Al Sheikh needs to get a wriggle on. Gervonta Davis needs to get a wriggle on. Dana White needs to get a wriggle on, and get these two guys in a trilogy together, because they are the two biggest stars in American boxing. And that is the answer to opening the door, to unlock the door. Never mind all the noise that they're creating, and the shades and the glasses that people are wearing, and the drama and the theatre and the get those two in a ring together for three fights, and boxing in America, I think, will have its summit and really be alive again. Yes, Garcia's, the Haney's, the Lopez, Shaka Stevenson and Gervonta Davis. You got two guys who will resonate with the public in America. That's all I'm saying on it. He was brilliant on Saturday night. We saw their personalities. Zapata could barely look up because he was getting beaten. I didn't have it as wide as the judges. It was 8 rounds to 4 for me. Shaka won the first, then he sat on the ropes a lot. Zapata probably stole the next 4 rounds, and then it was all Shaka from there on.
What did you make of Oscar's video? I don't know if you would have seen it, the one where he was wearing the wig that Edgar threw at him.
I didn't really. I saw it, but the wig put me off. I think he was on a plane somewhere. I watched a couple of words of it, and like you, I've been up Friday night watching and writing, doing a live show on Saturday night on TalkSport, and then up all Saturday night. So I didn't have space in my bandwidth for Oscar's wig. Oscar's wig. I will watch it at some point.
Do you know what was really good to see? Just finally, because I know you've got to shoot, Gareth. Dalton
Well, we're
Smith.
going to do this week, though, aren't we?
We'll do this week. Just finally on Saturday, Dalton Smith shaking hands with His Excellency.
Yeah, I love the
Big
fight.
world title fight coming.
Yeah,
World
I
title.
thought Puello won that fight, by the way, by a round. That's how I scored it anyway against Matias. Subriel Matias' style really suits Dalton Smith because he can switch, counter move, check hook, all those different things. I always describe him as two axes in his hands. He's like a Viking. I think the style suits him. If he can go through a torrid few rounds, I think he'll stop him. I think he'll stop Matias. And obviously he's got time to look at him, study him. He's in the flush of his maturity as a man. And yeah, it was great to see. Really pleased for Dalton. It's come at timing again. It's come at the right time.
Yeah. Right, this week, what are you expecting?
We got 2 minutes on this, yeah, because I've got to go.
2 minutes. What are you expecting from this week?
I'm expecting a lot of people to swing over to the side of Daniel Dubois. I'm hearing it all the time. I'm expecting it to be a brilliant week. Today, Oleksandr Usyk unveils a piece of art with Richard Branson in Trafalgar Square at 11:45 a.m. I've been invited along to that. I won't make it, but I'm going to be writing about it later and social media on it. Oleksandr Usyk steps outside boxing, outside the ring, and is a true general of life who uses his resonance and his platform to do brilliant things. I think he's the most complete boxer of the era, along with Vasyl Lomachenko and with Shakur Stevenson. I think that, and maybe Bivol, I've forgotten about him, Dmitry Bivol. I think that lots of people will swing over to the side of Daniel Dubois this week. We'll have an extraordinary build-up in the week. I think Lawrence Okoli will do well against Kevin Lerena. Maybe have a few stumbles early. Lerena will be in and under. But I think Okoli gets the stoppage in rounds 5 or 6, or maybe a little bit later. But I wish Kevin well. I've got a lot of love for Kevin. But I think Usyk will do his thing this week and be Usyk. I think a lot of smoke will be blown, smoke signals that Daniel Dubois, he's the guy to take over. He will be dangerous for 5-6 rounds, but then I think Usyk will take over in the fight and it'll be a later stoppage than last time. But I think Usyk wins on points or by late stoppage. I'm not going to go against what I've thought all the way along, even though Daniel has shown improvements. I'm not saying it because that's what I want to happen. That's what my head says will happen, not my heart. But if Daniel pulls it off, he becomes the new king of this era.
Do you think we could be sitting there Saturday morning and going, Usyk's been rattled this week? Do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah, it's a possibility. But people have tried to rattle him before and it hasn't worked. He knows he's the best adjuster in world boxing. He's brilliant at what he does. We know he's a general. We know he's been through this before. We know he's beaten Daniel Dubois before. We know he's beaten Tyson Fury, who's a very difficult guy to fight twice. So yeah, we may be sitting here writing pieces saying he's rattled, but equally it won't change the rhythm of his week. I hope he doesn't miss Alexander Krasiuk this week. We will all miss him this week. I wish he was here. But they've got their own reason.
He might still. Is there potential that he might still be here, or
no? I've spoken to him.
The other Ukrainian fighter.
I've spoken to him. Okay. I've spoken to him. He's not here, which is I'm very sorry about because he's been a great general for Usyk over the last 13 years. But no, it's a huge event. Shows how brilliant and big and beautiful boxing is in Britain. There's all the B's for you. But it'll be the A-side boys on Saturday night, and I cannot wait.